So yesterday was about AI, then we discovered Gen AI, and nowadays it's all about agent. If you are a bit lost, don't worry. I'm here to help you to understand what's behind AI and decipher the difference with Gen AI agents, and all the latest trends. So let's start. We're going to start from the start, because you need to understand what is the difference between AI and data and what is the link between both of them. Then, if you are not in a data team, why should you care about AI? That's a big question and a very fair one. We'll get into a little guessing game. It's very important to understand when you see something and to question it, to understand which type of AI, or is it an agent, or is it generative AI? Then we will go a bit deeper into the agent's world, because a lot is happening there. And we'll finish with trends and their unintended consequences, because it's always very good to look at the other side of the mirror. And we'll finish by what's in it for you in your industry or in your function. So let's kick off. I had a lot of fun once with a friend of mine at BNP Paribas. He had a very big meeting all about data. And sometimes people were not coming. It changed the title to AI. It was the same meeting. I think it tells us a lot about the context. And AI is really nothing without data. First of all, what is data? We have very beautifully structured data in lovely matrices, and then we have the other type of data, which is actually 70% of the data of a company. It's all about video, sounds, and what a shame not to maximize those data. If you have a fantastic call with one of your clients, and it would be great to be able to use those data, if you have, of course, the acknowledgement of the client and his permission. And if we step back a little bit, and I use that very old image, from 2006, data is a new oil. What was behind there is data was very important. But what I see there is that access to data and refining were difficult then and are still difficult now. That's why it's key to understand how AI will help you with your unstructured data. But at which moment are we really speaking about AI and we're making the switch from data? This little slide can help you to understand that little frontier. So first, to do any type of data project, you need to wonder, where is my data? You need to plug in. Beforehand, you would have, of course, worked with business people to understand what are the business objectives and how are they going to assess and measure the different strategies they're going to use. So you choose the data. You're going to make sure you put it in some places which are accessible, and you're going to prepare it, because the data might not be totally ready to use. And this step actually takes a lot of time. Sometimes it can be up to 80% of the time of the data work. At the moment, we still speak about data. And then, when the data is going to be put in a model, that's when we start to having that transformation process. And we can speak about AI. What is a model? I'm not going to get into difficult explanation. Think about it as a way to train and make the most of your data. The outcome, we call it inference. A model is something which is a bit static. So if you have new data, you need to retrain it and redeploy the model. And a model, by being static, I also mean it doesn't call in any APIs, but agent will do. So a model is static, and the result is going to be constantly tested and evaluated and then deployed. And if you are, and you're going to check the result. If you are unhappy with those results, or you want to integrate new data, you're going to start that virtuous cycle again with data, then turn into AI. And I think that's very important to be able to understand at which point we talk about AI. If we go a bit deeper, I get a lot of questions about which type of models do we need to talk about, or we need to know. In the ideal world, you'll know much more, but it's already quite cool to know about machine learning. If you imagine, and you have cats and dogs, and you explain to the model, that's a cat, that's a dog. Okay, that's supervised learning. Completely different from unsupervised, where you're going to give plenty of images of cats and dogs, and it's going to be separated. And of course, you can see already the interest. Unsupervised learning, you will win time because you don't have to train yourself the model. In supervised learning, you'll be able to predict a category, a winner or loser, or a number, a temperature. In unsupervised learning, you're going to make sense of patterns. And that's really, really important. That's what helps, for instance, Netflix. They're going to put you in different groups to see which type of movies you will be more likely to watch. And of course, we have also reinforcement learning. And we have a lot of different models. But those ones are quite interesting to understand because of that part of unsupervision. Data science. Everybody speaks about data scientists being a very cool and sexy job, but sometimes we don't understand exactly what is data science. And I think it's bloody difficult because you need to have a lot of computer science and IT knowledge, as well as math and stats, and domain knowledge. Let's be honest, someone who does everything perfect is tough to find. That's why it's so important for data scientists to collaborate with business experts. It's really, really key to make sense of the data. And that's why some platforms like Dataiku, we were created by data scientists who wanted to make sure data was really useful and enable that collaboration. That was, in a nutshell, a very quick overview of data going to AI and what is data science. Now, you might tell me, I don't work in a data team. Why should I really care about AI? Well, you should. You should for different reasons. And by the way, I'm sure you might have different reasons, so don't hesitate to comment and give me your reasons. But what we've seen working with many different clients is, first of all, Gen AI is a complete revolution which is going to make it easy for everyone to interact with data. You don't have to be good with numbers, you can just speak to numbers. In Dataiku, we can literally write in natural language what we want to compare in terms of data. For instance, compare sales results between Southern Europe and Northern Europe. And that's a very, very new ability, and that's really about democratizing data. That's why you should care about AI. The second reason is because the data team, they really need you. To make sure you can take better decisions, you need to collaborate with them. You need to help them to understand what are your business objectives, because they might think about different type of data and different type of way of working creatively with the data. You need to help them to understand what is the value you want to create. Economic value, social, environmental, and then all together you're going to brainstorm about how to use that data more creatively. They will do the hard work, you don't have to do it, that's their job. But in order for you to have total credibility in that work, in order for you to manipulate what is easy to do, you need to care about AI, because AI makes all those things easier for you to access. You don't have to code. The third reason is because in a lot of domain, AI is already within your tools. So, for instance, in finance, there are already a lot of people who have AI included in their daily life. So you don't want to create a gap in different teams and have people who are really good at it and who are going to progress very quickly, and some other who might be hesitant or literally not interested. And maybe that gap between knowledge will keep on increasing. Because AI is already everywhere. I mean, I didn't choose that image by chance. Clearly, it's an image generated by AI. Because it's an unlikely image and because there are some little mistakes. But today it's very easy to see it's a fake. Tomorrow it will become more and more difficult. So you need to ask yourself the right question, and to ask yourself the right question, you will need to understand a little bit more about AI, because you need to shape AI before it shapes you. Which comes very naturally to my other point. The biggest danger is not that we are all replaced by AI. It's a bit too strong. I like subtlety. I think the biggest danger is that we are becoming a bit lazy, and a little bit lazy. AI tend to offer you some content linked with probability. So, if you like cats on any social network, you go and you click often on cats, you're going to have some cat content. That's all fine when it's about cats. If you were in the UK before Brexit and you clicked a little bit more on an article about vote leave, you would get more and more articles about vote leave with a lot of rationale behind that. And step by step, you will be fed with this type of content. You have an obligation of curiosity, because if you don't make an effort, you can be in that little echo chamber and just see one side of the story. Even if you wanted to vote leave, you had to understand the other arguments. You might love cats, but you might discover that you love dogs too. So don't remain in your own little room, and really we all have an obligation of curiosity. It's going to be more and more difficult, but we do. And because AI is definitely not just a tech topic. It impacts everything from geopolitics to markets. So you want to have your point of view when you read an article. And understanding a little bit more about AI doesn't mean you're going to work in the data team. It's just going to mean that you can participate in everyday's debate. So that's a few reasons why you should care about AI. And I'm very keen to hear from you. What are your other reasons, and what else should we think about, and why should we care about AI? Now, it's a little game. Normally, it's quite an interactive game, but today I'm filming the presentation. But I will give you some tips, so maybe you can play within your company. So it works very easily. I show you an image, and I'll ask you in your head to think about, is that AI? Is it Gen AI? Is it an agent? And then more and more we're going to define what are those concepts. My first image. So you can see a screenshot of a mobile phone with a very simple conversation about booking a restaurant and a robot. Do you think it's AI? Take some seconds to look at the screen. Yes, you don't have a lot of freedom here. Imagine you booking a table for the 85th birthday of your dad. And you want a table which is easy access because he's got difficulty to walk, or a table which is a bit at the back, so not too much noise. Can you say that? Not really. So, what is AI, and is that picture AI? AI is necessary when you have a complex situation. So in that situation, I can't talk about my desire for my dad. I need a system which is flexible. So I would love to be able to ask, do you have a part in the restaurant which is less noisy? And I need ideally a system which can be self-learning. So I'm sure some other people did book a table for special events or people with disability, and the system should learn by itself. Oh, it's the 85th birthday of your dad. Do you have any special requests? Do we need help you to get into the restaurant? In this picture, it's clearly not AI. We have we have rules, and the system is following rules. You don't need an intelligent system. But when things are getting much more complex, need flexibility, and the system could self-learn, then you need AI. And AI is not about automation. AI is about intelligence, enabling you to deal with a complex, flexible issue where you need a constantly adapting answer. Netflix, is it AI? We all know there is AI, but which type of AI?
Yeah.
We spoke about supervised and unsupervised learning. It's very interesting. Every time you start creating a social media account or using a service, very often you are asked, what are your 5 best movies, or what are the 5 topics you would like to follow? That's really to try to categorize you at the start. But then the system is going to learn from your way of using, your patterns. So behind Netflix, there is AI, and there is particularly unsupervised learning. That dream of personalization is not really happening totally. I still spend a lot of time finding exactly the movie I want to watch. But more and more, Netflix is putting me in a kind of group, and they're going to try to put me in a group which is smaller and smaller. So it's not personalization, but it starts to put me in a group where the probability of giving me the right choice is higher. And that's exactly what unsupervised learning and AI is about, putting you in the best group possible. It's used not just for Netflix, but in banking. Imagine, you are 18, you're lucky enough, you're going to get your first car, but you need a credit. You're 18, they don't know you. They don't know if you are a good payer or a bad payer. So it's going to be very difficult to classify you. You don't have a label. We don't know if in the past you've been good or bad. That's why they might offer you a rate which is very high. Whereas if we know already that you are a good payer, the answer and the numerical value that we will provide you with will be a credit rate which might be a little bit more interesting. A new image, completely different. According to you, is it AI? I'll let you think a little bit. So we see some moving people, we see some statues. Is the image generated by AI? Why would we need to differentiate between person and object? Do you have any clue?
Yeah.
Well, it's not AI. We don't need AI to do this. We need to go further. AI costs money and costs energy. So when you use AI, you need to have a business objective. And it's very interesting to combine AI with a business objective. So I take the example of this startup which is doing recycling of rubbish. So first of all, you have image recognition and classification, the type of different rubbish, and analysis of the material. And then you have a robot which is going to take the rubbish and sort it in different pockets. So here you have a real business use for AI. If I come back to the previous image, people on a bridge, I mean, if we want to separate and to find a commercial reason to use AI, it could be understanding people's attitude and maybe like during Olympic Games, check if some behaviors are unusual for security purpose. Or it could be for understanding the traffic and if there is a risk for the bridge and what is anticipate its maintenance. So AI is necessary when you have really a business objective in mind. We don't use AI just for the sake of saying I want to use a model. Is that AI? Well, we all know generative AI can hallucinate and lie to you. But what is interesting to understand is why is that? Okay, so if I type in ChatGPT once upon, it's very likely the next words are going to be upon a time. Why? Because Gen AI is a probability, the most probable next word. So it's definitely not the truth, it's a probability. That's why it's the opposite of creation, because when you are creative, the next word or the next idea is the least expected one. So it's kind of the opposite. That doesn't say that you can't use Gen AI to become more creative, but Gen AI itself is not creating anything. It's giving you a probability. In very simple terms, how could we understand Gen AI? For me, it's a type of language. So we take a sound, a video, an image, and we're going to structure that data. And from text, we can go to a video. From a sound, we can go to text. So it's a language, and it helps us to structure the data we haven't been able to use so far. It helps us to generate an image, so a sound, and it helps you to interrogate your data and get certain type of answers. And those answers can be a new type of code or a new image. But Gen AI for me is really a language. And we can't say that AI is stronger than Gen AI or vice versa. Both of them, they work like a couple, and you need to make the best use of their forces. So if AI helps you with, for instance, decision, Gen AI will help you with a personalized information linked with a decision. It could be the summary of a document, an automatic report. That's why it's so interesting to put them together. What do you see here? Is it AI? Is it generative AI? Is it an agent? Well, it's a transformer. You might not have played that with your kids, but it's just to remind you or to trigger the idea of generative AI. Because transformers are the foundation of LLM, large language learning models. And those guys have been really helping us, because behind ChatGPT, that's what you got. Let's understand a little bit more about how they work. We say that Gen AI is not always telling you the truth. Why? Because Gen AI is working with defining what is the most probable next word. And that's the job of Mr. Transformer. Mr. Transformer is going to take all your input, all the words in that case, and give you an output, so the next word, after understanding the relationship between all those words. And that's where things get a little bit more complicated, and Mr. Transformer needs more GPU power, more processing power to make that work happen. Because it's going to really take every single bit of your input. So the bigger your input, the more the middle of the graph is going to be big, because it's going to work on all the little synergies which can happen between those words. And that's why when you use Gen AI at the moment, you consume a lot of energy, and ultimately it costs you more money. That's why scaling Gen AI is costly. I am optimistic. We're going to find different type of architecture and better architecture which are going to help us to analyze the input and provide an output in a more efficient way. And in the future, scaling will cost less. But it's very important for you that you understand why scaling is costly, and how those transformers work a little bit. Now we have the minions. Is it AI? Is it Gen AI? Are they agents? I choose the minions because they make me think of the agents. Why? AI agents are the latest thing we talk about. AI agents are the promise of microsystem with the tools to fix a problem. And they are meant to collaborate perfectly between them. Collaboration is not always perfect, and that's why the minion, they try their best, but sometimes they don't collaborate fully. But they will get there. So, an agent is an AI with a very tiny task and the perfect tools to deliver it. That's why the choice of my picture is not innocent on the right. There is a large mission, which is to make sure Gru is not going to fall down with what seems to be like a bomb, okay? And each minion's got a task. One is holding Gru, and the other one is holding the next saver. It's a good way to represent yourself, what agents are going to do. They have a micro task and the tools to deliver on the micro task. So they have the strengths, the concentration. Agents are meant to be able to collaborate. They are also the opportunity for anyone who understands business issues to actually code or use natural language to create an agent. And that's where things are going to change completely. Of course, the agent will need to operate within governance guardrail for security, cost, and quality. But an AI agent is an AI with a micro task and the tool completely applied to your unique situation. And that's really going to change everything, because it helps you to think about complete application to your unique business. If we have to take a metaphor, AI is kind of general purpose. It's a bit like electricity. And the agents are really going to be able to drive that innovation to your day-to-day task. So avoid banality, and you will need to think, particularly this year where agents are going to be everywhere, about how you can really apply AI, which will mean changing maybe some way of working to enable you to see a real transformation. The famous agents world, what does it mean for real? Imagine if you're writing a text and you ask AI to summarize it. If you were asking an AI agent to summarize it, it's a pretty simple task with just one specific request. It's a complete different situation if I have an AI agent who's going to look after my garden. When he looks after my garden, he needs to understand the temperature, if it had rained yesterday, if it's going to rain tomorrow. So there are a lot of parameters which enter into play. And I want the system to be able to water my garden a bit more if it has been really dry. So the system needs to be a bit more autonomous. And that's where the agents are becoming interesting, because there is a little bit more of autonomy here. And they need to be autonomous, but they also need to keep accuracy and efficiency. So if I'm in a call center and I'm speaking with a client, it would be great if I have an AI agent giving me all the information about the previous purchase from this client. Another AI agent which summarizes if that client had maybe issues with some product in the past. And maybe it would be great if we had another AI agent which helped me to understand the context. So the client's got kids, which type of product other member of the family have bought, and give me ideas of cross-selling. So here we have different agents who are going to give me some information, but I am going to take a decision based on all those agents. So they are actually focusing on one specific task. They are not autonomous. They're going to give me some stimuli, and I'm going to take a decision. So it's important to understand that the degree of autonomy will change, and that it's quite key to understand at which stage we want to have a human in the loop. What can we do with those agents? So a good example is also to think about FAQ. So when I have a problem with my internet, suddenly I can't connect to the Wi-Fi. What I do now, well, I could call a mate, or I have to go through the Orange app and understand if I've done anything wrong. Wouldn't it be nice if I could speak to an agent and just type, I have a problem, solve it? I don't really want to see everything the agent is doing in the background, because frankly, it bores me. And that's where agents are going to become very useful. They're going to help me to get rid of the tasks that I really don't want to do. There are some tasks, when you do them, you learn. And even if you don't like them too much, it's good that you keep on doing them because you learn. That task, although I could want to learn about it, doesn't interest me, so I could actually be very happy with a total autonomous agent. So there are interesting concepts. There is human behavior and which type of person you are, and what do you want to delegate and what you don't want to delegate. Now, what is really interesting is that in the future, all that self-learning the agents are doing that they could do instead of us will become more transparent, and we will be able to see more how agents are also self-learning. And that's really important, so we have full trust in them. But for the moment, I'll be happy to have an agent sorting this problem out for me. So, to understand a little bit deeper, what is the difference between an LLM work process versus the agentic work process? So the LLM, the chatbot, ChatGPT, please write an essay about the Second World War. Completely different from the agentic workflow, because in the LLM I gave a prompt and I'm getting a result. In the agentic workflow, actually, the agent himself is going to be able to prompt the LLM, and that's a complete new thing. Not only prompting an LLM, but also making a query to a different database, calling an API, all of that in the background, very fast. And you can imagine having one big task that you cut in small tasks, and you have maybe 100 agents which are going to run those micro tasks in parallel. That's where we're going. We are not there yet, as your famous AI agent co-worker narrative is not perfect. But that's where we're going. And it's going to be completely different from you doing one prompt at a time. So, getting into that workflow a little bit deeper, you could imagine you need to code. You can get some help from an agent who's the agent coder. And then you're going to have an agent checker who's going to check the code for bugs. And they're going to talk to each other till the agent checker says it's perfect, and then the code is going to arrive. Those agents will be able to grab some tools. That can be a web search tool. If I write a query such as what is the best coffee maker brand. But they can also use different type of tool, an object detection tool, blocking a calendar in a slot in a calendar, sending an email. So imagine all the tools and all the action we're doing, agent will be able to do those micro tasks. They will be also able, they are able to analyze in a sequence what they need to do. So if you have a request which is generate an image with the different type of things you need in the image, they're going to be able to understand and interpret each part of the request. And what is really interesting is that they can collaborate to give you a final result, which hopefully will be a good one. What is key behind the agent is how you're going to be orchestrating them, making sure they really collaborate. As us human in real life, it's difficult to collaborate. We can expect at the start it's not going to be perfect, but they will be self-learning. They will work within AI governance. So we can have the dream of a more perfect collaboration than the human collaboration to assist us. In summary, AI is not just AI. You have different type of wording, generative AI, AI agent. I think AI is a very, very large concept, and if I had to choose, I would prefer to call it collective intelligence with different type of tools beneath. What is important to remember, AI is not automatization. AI is self-learning, it's flexible, more or less autonomous and scalable. It's used for problems which require a lot of flexibility. Why do you use AI? You use it to have a stronger business impact. You use it because although we are super smart, there are tasks, if you divide them and have them run by multiple agents, they will get sorted faster. And AI can also help to mitigate risk. How you will use AI? Well, those keywords such as analyze, optimize, classify, detect, really help you to understand better what is behind artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not precise enough. But if you say generative AI, structure data, generate some text or generate some video, answer queries, AI, machine learning, help you to group. By using different type of language, you're going to appropriate yourself AI a little bit better. This is just a very simple introduction, but already by using a different vocabulary, getting away from just AI, using generative AI, using AI agents, and using then verbs, you're going to be able to understand AI deeper. And what is really important is always to think about AI as we want it to be positive, which means ethical, always explainable and transparent. We need to know who did what to make sure that if your request for credit is rejected, why? So AI is not here to replace us. For me, it's much more to outsource what we don't want to do. And I fully agree with that fantastic quote. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes, because I want to do the interesting stuff. So AI and Gen AI and agents are here to accelerate, help me to innovate. They are not here to replace me. So, what lies in the horizon? What to expect in 25 and 26? Some trends which are interesting for me, and I always like to see the other side of the medal. What are the unintended consequences? So, very quickly, every year we have new actors. NVIDIA, we keep on hearing about them, and semiconductors are really helping us to actually make AI work. And then we have the cloud infrastructure. This last year we heard a lot about foundation models, but this year I bet you we're going to hear much more about the orchestration layer to make sure that all the agents can collaborate. And the agents will be able to call APIs and work with different databases. So the application layer is going to be even more important. So I'm not going to tell you who's going to win because it's a full ecosystem, but it's interesting to see that we keep on having new actors. Very important words, autonomy and anticipation. So if you have very complex tasks, which are ambiguous. Well, we will still work with AI and we're not going to make it completely treated in an autonomous manner. But for things which are not that complex and not that important, AI agents will help us to win a lot of time. How much autonomy we want to give to those tools, it's to us to think about every time. And we need to keep on asking ourselves the question. I think if we think about generative AI, it was kind of reactive. You prompt and you get your result. AI agents are more towards anticipation. They're going to have a conversation between them and react according to the context. So that's why what is very important is that they can collaborate well. We will have more debate around autonomy and reliability. We want, in an ideal, to have both, but of course, it's a perfect picture, and we need to think twice about what is the cadence for the human loop, because it's extremely important. AI agents, I think, will help us to innovate more because they will be more applied to our unique business circumstances. First, they will be able to be created by more people than the data team. And they will, those business experts will see those agents in a different way, and they're going to create the innovation themselves. Two other things which I find very interesting: generative AI will help faster machine learning model development. So we will be able to have prototypes quicker, which doesn't mean the rest will be quicker. So we need to be careful because we don't want just to have prototype, we want actually to deploy, because when we deploy models, that's when we really have a return on investment. And I think scaling Gen AI cost will drop because we will have different type of models. What consequences can we think about? I think to be creative will be even more important. I did speak earlier about the risk of laziness. We won't be replaced, but machines are self-learning very fast. We need to have that obligation of curiosity and remain very, very creative. It's difficult to imagine all the content we are seeing, what is really true and what is not. AI, sadly, can be misused, but it will be also used for fighting disinformation. And the real question is, how can AI stop the propagation of fake information? Another very important consequence of that AI world is happening in the energy field. To have AI, you need electricity and you need water, okay? And there is a lot of debate at the moment about electricity coming from renewable and electricity coming from fossil. What lies beneath is actually which countries are going to be able to produce more electricity, more energy, and therefore work faster on AI. We need to be careful because every single country should be able to work on AI, so we have a diverse AI. We can see already a lot of LLM are done in English. We really need to make an effort and have LLM in multiple languages, otherwise we are making our world smaller. So energy and electricity particularly, that's the new gold. Of course, we have a lot of efforts towards more computing with less energy. And it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with quantum computing. They do need a lot of energy for cooling, but there is a promise that they will use less energy for working. So let's see where that takes us.
Yeah.
And then the promise of differentiation. And I do think that if you are curious, if you apply the right set of rules or governance, you will be able to make all your agents work towards your own business issues and therefore really innovate and differentiate yourself from your competitors. What's in it for you? How can you make everything AI, generative AI, AI agent work in your day-to-day work? So good news, you don't have to be an expert at data. With Dataiku stories, you can type requests and, for instance, create slides, for instance, for a sales presentation in a few clicks. And the good thing is that those slides can be updated regularly with the data automatically. A very good example of how you can use generative AI because you wrote a request and have a certain degree of automatization because every time you have new sales data, they are embedded in the presentation. You can have, very simply, smart automatic documentation. For instance, code documentation is a bit boring to do. It's fantastic to use generative AI because it will automatically turn the code into a text. A lot of time saved. Of course, you can create a chatbot which is dedicated to your own data. We have Dataiku Answer, which helps you really to make that process much easier. Yet you still need to work on the prompt and educate it. But it will make everyone in your company able to use data. We've done it with multiple clients, and I invite you to go on our website to see what we've done for Roche, for instance, for the legal department using generative AI. The outcome was a lot of time won for patent lawyers, and therefore a lot of savings because they could come with prepared documentation and reduce attorney hours. And you could also build your AI agent fleet. Each team can benefit from their own agent. If you work in sales, for instance, you could have an agent which is focusing on your pipeline, another agent which is focusing on certain accounts, giving you an understanding of what's happening in business-wise. You could have another agent which is just summarizing meetings. The importance that you're going to brainstorm about the type of agent you need. And that's very unique. You're going really to apply AI to your business needs. So if we think again about electricity, when electricity arrived, people were like, wow, fantastic. But it took a long time for electricity to prove its point. Why? Because people were used to work with steam and they tried to do steam old way of working plus electricity. So they had old and they tried to put new on top. And that's a little bit what we are going through at the moment. We don't exactly know the new way of working with AI. We keep on inventing it every day. And that's why I think it's very important for every one of us to understand how AI is working, because we're all going to reinvent a way of working which is going to fit with those innovations. We don't have the perfect answer now. We're working on it. You need to be part of it because it will help you to be different and to improve, maybe to create some impact in sustainability, to create social impact and an economic impact. So shape AI before it shapes you. If you want to learn more, go on Dataiku website. We have a Dataiku Academy where you can learn how the platform works. And we have content which can inspire you, and don't hesitate to brainstorm on what AI can change in your company. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have some tips, don't hesitate to reach out. Bye-bye.